Welcome back to another edition with our favorite reporters from the Gloucester Times, Stephen Hagan and Ethan Foreman. Hi, you guys.
Hi, Heather.
Nice to see you post Labor Day, end of summer. Everybody's looking kind of tanned and relaxed.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time at the beach sunning and primping.
Well, or counting piping plovers, maybe.
My ex-wife, it's so funny over the years, her name is Diane.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've always teased her for running. That it resembles a plover that runs. Have you ever seen a plover running across the sands? Their legs are furiously moving, but their upper body is very still.
All right, the piping plover form of runner.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so Stephen, what do you have for stories for us this week?
Well, there are four stories I'd like to touch on. First of all, this relatively recent discovery of a shipwreck in Essex Harbor. It's located at the confluence of the Castle Neck and Essex rivers on the Gloucester side of Essex Bay. It's apparently it was a two-masted schooner, and it was like either a fishing vessel or a merchantman. They carried mixed cargoes. This is all according to David Robinson. He's part of the Mass Board of Underwater Archaeological Resources, BUAR. And this kind of came to our attention because people on the Essex page, the Facebooks, had been out there and they had photographed it, and they're basically clamoring all over the wreck. That's one thing that Burnham wanted to send out the message that, these shipwrecks, they're really valuable because they teach boat builders like himself to I'm sorry, I didn't identify him clearly. His name is Burnham.
Harold Burnham.
Harold Burnham. Thank you very much.
A wonderful guy.
Harold Burnham.
Amazing,
Yeah, he's
amazing.
a wonderful guy.
He's a
He
national
loves ships. He
treasure.
loves talking about ships, and I could talk to him for a long time. But anyway, he's concerned that people might potentially damage these ships, and these ships, they're a real window to the past, the way ships used to be built. There are no. He told me there's relatively little documentation about how to do it, other than a look at these ships themselves.
Stephen, is there a date for this wreck?
I think it's early 19th century.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot to learn there.
I'm sorry?
So there would be a lot to learn for a boat builder, I'm sure.
There it is right there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, kind of see it over there to the left. So
you can see the ribs sticking out from the sand, and it's through the years, the channel has shifted. It's been covered by sand. It's been exposed to sand. It goes back and forth. So,
is any of the cargo in it? No,
I don't know that for sure.
I think you're like Captain Jack Sparrow. You're looking for treasure.
I'm looking for crockery. I want to see that early 19th century crockery, right? I know.
Yeah.
You got to stay away from that wreck.
We need to learn about new pans, old pans.
You can come back. All right. So I have another question though. Is there any scheme at all to retrieve it and to bring it back to like the Essex Shipbuilding Museum? And
that's a very interesting question, and I wish I'd asked it. To my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about that. If it were to be retrieved, I would imagine it would have to be dismantled, because it's really just the ribs of the gunnel that are visible. It looks like, one of the terms that was used to describe the wreckage was a carcass. And it looks like an animal that's been deteriorating for a long time, but it is still really cool. So another thing I'd like to touch on, Manchester by the Sea, the fire department, they are utilizing new technology. It allows them to turn off electric cars. Why, do you ask? Is that a big deal? Well, apparently, and I don't own an electric car or a hybrid like my compatriot does, but apparently there have been instances of the electric cars running and creating some problems potentially. But the thing is, it's not known that they're running because they're quiet. They're very quiet. So this is the device right here.
So
It's firefighter Michael Susie, the Manchester Fire. He's holding it. Looks like, if you look at it, it looks like a gas hose at a gasoline pump. So you just put it into the device and it clicks it off.
So Stephen, this is if an electric car is in an accident, that's the problem.
It could be an accident. It could be being the device can be used not only by firefighters but by service personnel when it's being serviced. If it runs and they come across, if they had no way of turning it off, this will do the trick.
And that is because the person who owns the car is not there with their little key?
Could be.
Huh, that's interesting. So are other communities considering this? It was so interesting that Manchester by the Sea has this device.
Well, I don't know if other communities are doing it, but I know that when I talked to the fire chief, Chief James McNeely, great guy, by the way, he said that they're trying it out. They tried it on one of the police vehicles, which is electric in Manchester, and it worked like a charm. It immediately shut it down. But he said they were considering getting another one if it were deemed appropriate. So they cost about $950.
Huh.
So
really interesting.
Nice addition.
Not something you want everyone to have, though, if you think about it.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
Another story, a sad story, but also an interesting memorandum. There's a fellow that from Manchester that died. He was a boater, known in the his body was found in the Misery Islands and off the coast of Beverly a few days ago. His name is he's 73-year-old Stephen Brodecki. He was a fixture in the harbor there. He was, from what I gathered, talking to the mooring service. He was well known for helping everybody. Anybody that had a problem with their boat or anything mechanical, he was trying out on the spot and would fix it and not expect anything in return. And the quote in the story is that the only thing he hoped for in return was friendship. Stephen Brodecki is 73 years old. The details of his death are not really known yet. And finally, just last thing, that's something that might interest you, Heather. There's a Rockport special fall town meeting in Rockport on Monday, September 11th. A lot of run-of-the-mill bill paying measures, unpaid bills for previous fiscal years. There is a measure, it's Article E, to use money from the Community Preservation Fund for several projects, including ones at White Wharf, study of nature trails, a restoration of T Wharf, a grant for harbor like community partners for the creation of an affordable community housing at 5 Granite Street. There'll be a press conference on that coming up, and I'll be attending that as well. And other measures on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. A lot of it has to do with language that needs to be tightened up and grammatical errors that need to be changed. So, and there are no planning articles, according to the planning chair, Jason Shaw. There are 0 planning articles on the warrant. So hopefully it's a 24 article warrant, so it'll take some time, but I'm guessing they'll get everything in that night. And that's it.
Great. Thank you. So Ethan, what's going on in Gloucester?
Well, I wouldn't predict town meeting. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
I've been to my share. So what's going on in Gloucester? What isn't going in Gloucester? It's really been crazy. We just got through the Schooner Festival. I covered that. That was an incredible, amazing sight for anyone who was able to turn out to see it. And I think there should be a little bit of awareness about it on Watercape bands. Some people don't know about Schooner Festival, but if you get a chance next year, if you're watching this, you come out to Stacy Boulevard and see schooners, just like it used to be, the harbor filled with schooners, fishing schooners, working schooners. So that was quite something. It's been a really busy summer.
Mm,
But Heather, now, do you live in Gloucester?
I do not. I live in Rockport, but
So anyway, so vote early, vote often. You can't do this, but for our readers on Friday, it's the last day to if you need anything with your voter registration, change it, or to register if you just moved to the city. So you're going to be having a preliminary election this year for mayor, Ward 2 and Ward 3. There's 4 candidates for mayor. There's 3 candidates in 4 candidates in Ward 2 and 3 candidates in Ward 3. Ward 2 is the downtown. And Ward 3 is just off of downtown. So think Gloucester High, sort of that area.
that's Ward 3.
Yeah, in that general area. So yeah, so new for this year with the opening of the new East Veterans Elementary School, which I don't know if we talked about that, but it's a great school. It's their first day.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful school.
Beautiful.
That's going to be, yeah, beautiful, wonderful. Seemed the drop off and seemed to go really well.
If I may, folks, Ethan shot a great video online of the first day of school at there, and it was really, it made you feel like you were there with the kids, teachers, and so on and so forth.
And
Yeah,
where,
we'll put up a link right here. No, just kidding.
no, where can we see that video?
Oh, you
Facebook?
can see on the, Gloucester Times. Gloucester Times Facebook page.
Great. All right.
But
So,
so if the big change this year in the election is where you're going to go to vote.
Right.
So if you lived in East Gloucester, you probably voted at there were people who were voting at the Veterans School, and there were people who were voting at East Gloucester in the old days, but no longer the case. Last couple of years, East Gloucester School and the YMCA was used as polling places in Ward 1. That's no longer the case. If you live in Ward 1, precincts 1 and 2, you're going to go to the East Veterans School. So that's your Ward 1 go-to for voting. That's the change this year. Everything else is the same. In Ward 2, precincts 1 and 2 is Our Lady's Youth Center. Ward 3, precincts 1 and 2, Gloucester High. Ward 4, precinct 1 is Beeman Memorial School. Ward 4, precinct 2 is Plum Cove. And Ward 5, precinct 1 is the Magnolia Library Community Center. And Ward 5, precinct 2 is the West Parish Elementary School. Those aren't changing. So,
okay, so the only things that have changed are Ward 1 and 2.
Ward 1,
Ward 1.
precinct 1 and 2.
Okay. All right. That's the only changes to
Just Ward 1 voters. Perhaps in the past you went to the YMCA. Perhaps in the past you went to the East Gloucester School. You go to vote now. You live in Ward 1. Think about Ward 1, East Gloucester, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to go to the East Veterans Elementary School, which is, I think, in Ward 1. So yeah, that's a big change. And then this year they're not going to do in-person early voting. You know how you go to City Hall and do in-person. They're not doing it this year for the preliminary. Haven't made up the decision for the general.
Okay.
And now is the time for people who want to request their ballots. If you want to do an absentee, if you look at our paper for Wednesday, all the links are there. Or you can go on the city website, the elections page, city website, and find links to absentee or vote by mail. You can still do it. They're not going to send you an application.
Okay. Great.
So it's a busy election season. We've 1623 Studios. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, kind of.
No, they're no, I've been there for the last couple nights. They are taping with the League of Women Voters, doing a great job taping interviews with the candidates. We've done Ward 2 so far. Dylan Benson, I'm gonna get Dan Epstein, Barry Pett is running, and another guy, Mr. Jettis is his name, are running in Ward 2. And we did the mayor candidates last night. Mayor Verga, Tracy O'Neill, Marilyn Rose, and Francisco Sclafani all came in. And we're doing taping Ward 3 tonight. These interviews are going to be broadcast on 1623 Studios. next week.
And can probably be seen on our website also if people can't.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, right, exactly.
Yeah, go to YouTube. Yeah. So it's a really great, the League of Women Voters is an excellent job asking excellent questions. And we're going to distill some of that down and put some of that in our paper.
Great. Well, there's always great coverage in that Gloucester Times. So
Well, we try. We try harder.
it's a busy election season, I know. So there's one more little bit of news that I think people may or may not be interested in. National Grid is back, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, National Grid, there was a back in the spring and early summer, there was a lot of work. National Grid had started in January. They ran into a lot of problems. It's just a lot of utilities down there, and so the issue was the work was dragging on. And so what happened was they came in, the business owners were noticing that, hey, this is disrupting our business. So they went and stopped the work, demobilized. So they're back. We got a note. The city, actually, Gloucester has this organization. Well, it's not an organization, but this is what the website, Innovate Gloucester. And they put up a notice. You can go on Innovate Gloucester Facebook page and learn more about what they're doing. They're going to be coming back, I guess, this week. I did see a National Grid truck down there. I didn't see the crews, but just beware that they are going to try to wrap this up by October. And it's a big disruption on Main Street, but it's got to be done. It's gas main work. And once this is done, it won't have to be done for another, who knows, 50, years.
Right. But it was tough to have it in the middle of the summer season to have all that work.
Yeah, because just work is dragging on. Like I was down there. It's like they're trenching, Main Street. There's nowhere to park. You couldn't get, like in front of jalapenos. You couldn't get in front of jalapenos. There was sidewalk work too, because they're trying to do the connections to the businesses and stuff. So it was hard to walk and impossible to drive, hard to park. Right. And but they've done a lot of work. Seems like they did a lot of work over the last, until July when they shut down. But yeah, the summer's over, unfortunately, and that gas National Grid's going to be back. But I think in the long run, it's going to be excellent for the city to have this kind of infrastructure installed. New gas main, yeah. It's good.
Good. All right. Well, anything else anyone wants to catch us up with? Stories you're working on?
Yeah, just not a story, Heather. But one thing I neglected to mention, the special fall town meeting in Rockport that's coming on Monday, it's on September 11th, which begs the question, would there be an observation of the September 11th? And I talked to the fire department, and they will, at the very beginning of the meeting, which starts at 5:30, at Rockport High School, they will have a brief observance, a moment of silence to start that meeting.
Thank you. Okay, all set then? All right, get back out there, guys. We'll see you next Thursday. Okay.
Thank you, Heather.
Back to the battle lines.
Exactly. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.